This semester you'll be completing a language text review. This is a project-based assignment in which you will compare two different language instructional texts, one designed for foreign language instruction, possibly even second language instruction, and then one designed for a heritage language, no matter the language, but a heritage language course or a course for native speakers of a language. To begin, you will select two texts as I mentioned earlier. You will utilize the text that you currently use to teach your language other than English course, or that perhaps a colleague is using to teach a language other than English course. Again, for those of you who are ESL teachers, perhaps instead of a foreign language textbook or a book designed for a language other than English course, you would be utilizing materials or curriculum designed for English as second language courses. Then the second text that you will utilize is a text designed for use in teaching a heritage language course or a course designed for native speakers of a language. I have a collection that I have where, if need be, you can borrow from me those texts. In the syllabus, it originally said those would be on hand in the library and you could check those out. However, rather than doing that, we can just make arrangements for me to either meet you or to send it to you in a way where you could review those. Of course, all of them are Spanish text. Now, for those of you who are involved in curriculum committees or textbook review committees, if there's been a recent adoption, or even with the last adoption, even if it's been several years, if there were text left behind and you know that you have materials or text on hand, then you could utilize those. Otherwise, then you could do some research online and see if there was a text available for you to review that you could request. In reviewing both texts, you will complete these several different steps. You will identify the publisher, and being the company who published the specific text. Then you will review and analyze the editors, consultants, reviewers, and writers, particularly looking at their background and expertise in instruction of language, in research of effective instructional strategies, what their background is and what gives credence then to the text based on the writers, editors, and consultants who contributed. Then, if you would review the text structure and format and identify those, is it set up where there are specific themes and it's a progression of themes throughout the year, or is it designed in such a way? For example, the Spanish text I used when I taught high school Spanish, it was designed in such a way that we had a different Spanish-speaking country for a unit. There would be 3 chapters in the unit, and then we would learn vocabulary concepts on all facets connected to daily life activities. We were learning about the country, but at the same time even learning the most basic of Spanish for everyday life, clothing, and then the appropriate to be verbs, things like that. Then as you consider the text design, look at whether it's designed to include all 4 language domains. Does it include activities for speaking, listening, reading, and writing? And particularly as you're looking at those texts designed for heritage language instruction or native speakers courses, are they comprehensive in those language domains? The outcome of this project then will be a 3-page paper where you will write a comparison and contrast of the two texts. Again, the text designed for a language other than English course, that's more of a foreign language approach, compared to a text that is designed for a heritage language or native speakers course in that language other than English. At the conclusion of the paper, you need to be sure to identify whether the two texts serve only the intent for which they were designed, or whether they could cross over for use in the opposite course. So in the previous slide, where you were to look at those 4 different areas of the components and the design of the text, then in this paper you will compare and contrast those 4 areas for the two texts. Again, if you need text to review, I do have a collection that I have purchased and have on hand where I reviewed them as we were creating the course. I'm more than happy for you to borrow them. Even if you teach French or German, even though they're Spanish text, the intent is for you to compare the design and the construct. It's less about the language in it, but more the construct and the intent for use, and that you've compared and contrast those. So again, I have some resources available if you would like to borrow those, or if you can find resources at your school or from a colleague where, again, there's been a textbook adoption and maybe some things were left behind, or if you're looking at some text this year with your district or even for yourself personally where you could utilize those specific texts, where you could do a research at the different book publishers, or even Google, text for heritage language instruction, or for native speaker courses, and see what's available. I don't want you to have to purchase anything, but that's really your call. There's ways you could borrow and compare, track down, see what might be available for free, and particularly those of you who are active foreign language teachers, if there's something that a company might be willing to give you as a review copy. So if there are questions or concerns, any needs for clarification, please do not hesitate to let me know. This paper is due on April the 6th of this semester, and we will all post up our information in a way that we can see what each other accomplished, and then have some brief discussion about what we found, and about the comparison of text designed for courses that are intended as foreign language other than English courses, not for native or heritage language speakers, and then those texts designed for use in heritage language Spanish for native speakers course. And then one thing I just thought of as well is, even with your text that's designed for non-Spanish speakers or non-German speakers or non-French speakers or any other language, learning that particular language, if there are ancillary resources that are designed for the native speakers of those within that, then we can discuss even the utilization and the comparison of how that's designed compared to what's intended for kind of the overall general population of your course. So we have some flexibility, but the key thing is that we're comparing materials designed for heritage language or designed for native speakers to practice and learn language and develop their proficiency further, compared to those of students who've not had exposure to that language then acquiring that language.